I've heard some complaints when I was going through the venue that, the event kind of lacks interaction. There's nothing like very active going on. So we were trying to compensate for it. And that's why we will have only 3 people of the panel discussion right on set, while one of them will magically appear out of air, maybe out of space, very connected to your panel discussion. So don't be scared if you see someone running through the doors, through those terrible stairs. Don't worry, it's one of our speakers, and he's very much awaited. All right, so let's welcome to the stage the moderator of the panel, Thomas Tange, partners, Spice Tech Partners, Bernardo Brum, who is a business consultant and US SPA, Adam Niewicki, who will arrive a bit later, so maybe not gonna tell you a lot of information about him. Let's leave this mystery around him. And last but not least, Christina Nicolaus, who's the co-founder and CEO of Okapi Orbitz. Guys, welcome on stage and enjoy.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and I have to maybe disappoint Adam. Well, his plane is just delayed, so I think if he would have had a space plane, and they do exist, he would have been here on time, but unfortunately not yet. But a warm welcome to Bernardo and Christina. As was mentioned, Christina is a CEO at Okapi Orbitz, and what that precisely means we'll get into in a little bit. And Bernardo is a business consultant at the European Union Agency for the Space Program. I will abbreviate that to EUSPA. That's a little bit shorter in the panel that we have here. And so thank you for joining me here. We're basically going to discuss how startups can use space technologies, space data for their businesses. And you might be surprised that this is accessible to startups. And basically our 2 panelists will tell you how that is possible. So since we have only limited time available, we're going to dive straight into it. And I will ask you an introductory question to kind of see where you're coming from. So Bernardo, if I may start with you, at EUSPA you support businesses and startups, and you help them to materialize the potential of space data for very earthly application domains. And with space, most probably some of you might be thinking about going to Mars, going to the moon, but can you list some examples of startups using space data and not to go to the moon and Mars, but to help us, the economy and society here on Earth?
Hello, yes, good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for the invitation. As Thomas introduced briefly, I'm working for EUSPA, that is European Union Agency for the Space Program, and is in charge of managing some of the most relevant space programs, such as Galileo and EGNOS Global Navigation Satellite Systems or Earth Observation Program Copernicus. These programs are meant to support application on Earth, and that's what we call downstream application, in contrast to the upstream. There's the rocket, the things that most of the people think. One of the activities that we do in our agency is the market development for these programs. So we support the adoption of these technologies by industries and citizens. And one important part of our work is the support to entrepreneurship, the support of innovation and startups and SMEs that develop innovative solutions based on the use of these technologies. And for example, we are managing a European Commission initiative called Cassini that aims at supporting entrepreneurship around the use of space technology. Under this framework, we have different initiatives. For example, we organize hackathon and mentorship, prizes and competition, business growth, matchmaking events. We target startups in all the phases of their life cycle. And just to conclude, some example of applications that can be developed, some startup that participated to our programs are, for example, there is one Polish startup that is called SentrySense, and they develop a solution to monitor power lines by deploying a network of sensors that is attached to the power lines. And those sensors are equipped with a receiver, a GNSS receiver, and as they are attached to the power lines, they vibrate together with the line. And by analyzing the movement pattern, this startup is able to assess the status of the lines and perform maintenance, preventive maintenance. So this is one example of a use case based on the use of, in this case, Global Navigation Satellite System, Galileo. Another example is a company that developed a solution based on Copernicus Earth Observation Program that monitors the health status of vineyards. So they by leveraging the images taken from the space, they are able to diagnose pathologies in the vineyards, and they propose treatment to solve these issues and monitor the crops. So these are two examples of Earth observation and GNSS applied in our daily life markets.
Yeah. That's great to hear. I think we all enjoy a glass of wine, and it's good to know that space data is actually helping monitoring these vineyards and making sure our dear grapes don't get damaged. You mentioned there was a hackathon. Do you know when the next hackathon will be, and will be it in Poland?
Yes, I'm not sure. I think it's going to be in Poland, and I think it's going to be on security, if I'm not wrong. I don't recall now the exact dates, but okay. Yes.
I'll help you because actually I looked it up. So the next hackathon is in November, and the locations are not disclosed yet. So that was a bit of a trick question for you. But the previous hackathon was indeed in Poland and was about security. So hopefully,
what's the preview?
Yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll have the next one again in Poland as well. Now, Christina, let's hear from an entrepreneur. You're the CEO of a space company, and we basically know that space is accessible now for startups because it has become so much cheaper to launch satellites. And there's something called like mega constellations, and that means just thousands of satellites in space. And with Okapi Orbits, you're using terrestrial data to avoid that these satellites basically crash into each other, if I can say it's plain and simple. Do we have traffic jams in space, and how do you solve this issue?
We founded Okapi Orbits in 2018. And since then, the market and space has changed a lot. So you mentioned one part, the mega constellations. I think everyone is aware of Starlink, of Elon Musk, of Jeff Bezos, but also what Bernardo said, there's a big economy. A lot of satellites in small fleets are launched way lower than they used to be launched before, in the so-called low Earth orbit. And besides that, the increasing number of satellites being launched, we also see there's a lot of junk and space debris from the usage of space since a couple of decades. These are like rocket upper stages, old satellites, and we monitor these space debris objects. We see what's going on in space, build a map, let's say, and figure out how do they influence satellites. Are they come close to the satellite? Are they maybe facing collision? This also goes for rockets. And we analyze this using artificial intelligence, building the catalog, and then analyzing the best maneuver for a satellite for minimal impact. Because if we have our constellation monitoring the vineyards, we of course want our constellation or our satellite to fly over a certain area at a time we want and need to. And we make sure that an operator gets a minimal impact, so he's safe, but also has an optimizes the use case with flying over the vineyards they need to. And yeah, that's basically what we're doing with the Okapi orbits.
Okay, space is very, very big. How do you manage to see these objects?
So we have data from radar station, telescopes, lasers, but also in-orbit sensors who observe what's going on around them. And we believe the best and maximal output comes with combining all these data sources and making sure, okay, every station on Earth or in space sees a certain radius around the satellite or with technical restrictions, and we try to understand what are they seeing and how do we overlap these data layers to understand. But what we also have to say, space is pretty new industry, especially commercially, where always uncertainties, objects are moving with 9 kilometers per second, so it's kind of like a bullet. So it's a pretty hard thing to see stuff, and we try the best with using our software to do so.
Okay, well, better not get hit by a space bullet.
Definitely.
It sounds very much like you know, you're working on algorithms. It's a lot about coding. So, Bernardo, do I need to be a rocket scientist to enter in the space industry? Where all these companies coming from? I'm imagining like a high-tech government lab where there's very secret stuff going on. What background do I need to have to get into space, and for somebody here that wants to enter in the industry?
Yes. In the past, it used to be like this, but not anymore. Now, with, for example, if we talk about GNSS and Earth observation, we are talking about a technology that can be used by over 17 different market segments on Earth. So we are, for example, find applications in aviation and drones, in infrastructure, in energy and raw materials, insurance, finance, automotive. There are 17 different market segments where these technologies can be applied. And in my opinion now, it is more important, if we are talking about entrepreneurship, it is more important to have the knowledge of the market, to understand what are the problems that can be addressed and the competitors. This is a much more valuable background for let's say, starting an entrepreneurship startup, addressing these the different areas. Then the space component can be learned or applied in a later stage. There are different options. For example, there is here in EUSPA we have a platform called Space Academy, where we provide trainings courses for entrepreneurs that are willing to develop a solution based on the use of space technology. It's a free of charge platform that can be accessed by everyone. And there, for example, you can follow courses on how to use Copernicus data or do marketing, different subjects related to the entrepreneurship world. And of course, when we are talking about entrepreneurship, it's always good to have a team of team members that have complementary skills. So there is no specific skill that is preferable versus others. So it's always good to have a good mix and be aware of the market needs. Then the rest is can be used by everyone, the space technologies.
Okay, great. Maybe Christina, if I may ask you, what kind of people work at your company? What academic background do they have? And maybe secondly, are you hiring?
Yes, we're hiring. So if someone is here who's interested in space and space sustainability, check out the website. Yeah, so we have a really diverse team. So it's a huge part of computer scientists with the focus on data science, but also all functions like back-end engineering, front-end, you name it. And then a big part of aerospace engineers with different backgrounds, ground segments, so the people who know how to operate an observation asset, also who've been in satellite operations before, rocket manufacturing. It's really diverse. And then, of course, what's super, super important, what you mentioned, Bernardo, people who understand the market, who understand how to build a company, how to build a product which suits and serves the market needs and the customer needs. So, of course, product management, marketing, sales, you name the functions, every startup has, and we have them as well. And I think our panelist is there. No?
Do we have Adam? No, I don't think
No?
so yet. No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Somebody that looks like an investor.
It was not only me.
Basically, I take away that anyone with all kinds of different backgrounds can enter in the space industry. It's good to know that I don't have to be a rocket scientist. Now, maybe to follow up as well, because I asked the question to Christina, Bernardo, is USPA hiring?
There are plenty of new positions all the time. We started the EUSPA agency 2 years ago with the incorporation, because in the past our agency used to name was European GNSS Agency, and we was focusing only on Galileo and EGNOS. But in the last 2 years we incorporated the Copernicus program, so we are building our team right now, and we are planning also to start working on other programs such as the GovSatcom, the governmental satellite communication technology. So yes, in these months we are always opening new positions to fill these vacancies. Yeah.
Okay, great. So if becoming a space entrepreneur is not immediately an option, at least there's 2 companies here hiring. Now, let's move to the investment side. And Christina, I did a bit of background information or background research, and I saw that Munich Re, a reinsurance company, very big reinsurance company, is one of the lead investors in your more than 5 million euro seed round. Congratulations for that. Why does an insurance company invest in a space company?
Yeah, good question. Munich Re, they also directly insure satellites in space, and this already since the 70s. So of the early beginnings of space, they insure space assets, mainly satellites, huge billion-dollar expensive satellites in geostationary orbit, so weather satellites, telecommunication, TV satellites. And they have a huge experience in analyzing what space assets do and how they do it. And that's super valuable for us as we can share market knowledge. So there we're coming back to the point, understanding and learn from experienced investors how the market has grown, how it has evolved, what challenges our potential customers ours are facing. And of course it has symbiotic effects as we also work on, from more technical perspective, not a financial one, to de-risk mission risks, so making sure satellites stay safe. We're working on the same issue that no one wants their billion-dollar assets to get lost or to get hit. So we have a common interest in space, and what we in general see is that more and more, not typically space investors, go into the space market because space touches all of us. Everyone is influenced by space. If you open your smartphone, every second app uses space data, but we don't know. And I think the market is opening up hugely, and I think in the future we will have more deals and more questions. Why doesn't VC invest into space, or why does this OEM, big corporate, has an interest in space? Yeah.
So you mentioned that there's investors that are actually specialized in the sector, and I can imagine why. It sounds quite difficult to do. Do you see also general deep tech or general tech VCs active in the sector?
Yeah, it's increasing. They become increasingly active. And I think
And
that's
here
a
we
good
have
point.
Adam. Give him a round of applause. It was a
I'm really
struggle
sorry.
to get here.
Yeah, we were just talking about investors.
Good
who-
timing.
Very good timing. Yeah, so we see deep tech, of course, this is a natural interest of deep tech investors to also look into space where most of the developments and startups are really techy and tech savvy. And yeah, we have specialized space VCs who invest in space since a long time and more coming into the market who have a more general focus.
Okay. Adam, you're one of those that are investing in deep tech. You don't have a specific focus on space, but nevertheless you've invested in a couple of space companies, but also in AI, cybersecurity, and fintech. And so I'm kind of interested to understand what is your investment hypothesis to invest in space as a deep tech investor.
Yes, so again, sorry for being late. Space tech is definitely, like the ultimate tech frontier. Yeah, so it encompasses like the super advanced, frequently hardware and super advanced software. So this is like a real difficult stuff, and we love to invest in difficult things. So we don't want to really follow hype that much. We want to go where a unique tech advantage is making the difference. So whenever there is a strong tech disruption, unique IP, intellectual property, super advanced team of quite frequently geniuses, this is where we want to go. So that's why we call it, we invest in deep tech. You can call it real tech. Anyways, like we are going after the tech advancement rather than simply copycatting or doing, kind of, let's say, businesses based on operational excellence rather than technical excellence. We go for the technical excellence. And yes, in space tech, as mentioned, like we love those difficult things. We love, the things to really see the team making a difference, doing something that no one else knows how to do. So in the nutshell, that's why we went for the space tech. And more precisely, but like when we started to invest in space tech, it was over 5 years ago, there were so few investors in space tech. By the way, there were also few companies that are really exciting companies to invest. The market has changed enormously, but yeah, when we started to invest over 5 years ago, basically in Europe there was almost none, like especially in EU, in London maybe one. US definitely completely different ecosystem. And it has changed tremendously. So it's not that it's a crowded market, it's still not. But there are more and more players coming, and we are super happy about it. The thing is that, like we took our lesson, sitting in the boards of the companies for 4 or 5 years, help us to understand, like the industry, and that's why we are very much committed to space tech right now.
We've heard basically so far about space being useful for energy, for agriculture, for vineyards, for protecting our space assets. Can you tell us about one company you've invested in and maybe why you invested in them?
It's always tough to choose, like which of.
Can only choose one.
Yeah, it's like like if you have a few kids and someone is asking you which one is your favorite, it's tricky. So on one hand, I would be typically most excited with the newest one, which is the ClearSpace, which is building the spacecraft to capture objects. So it's like in space servicing, meaning this can deorbit debris or this can extend the lifetime of a satellite. This is a new one, so you are always excited with a new one. But then again, like probably the company that is most successful in our portfolio in space tech is the ICEYE. It's a SAR, synthetic aperture radar, largest global operator of the largest satellite constellation, doing great, meaning both financially and operationally. So this is, I would say, our star in our space tech.
Yeah. What is the
portfolio.
data used for, this radar data?
Well, like the SAR, like most of the satellites that we typically see in movies are optical satellites. Yeah, so they are doing beautiful pictures. They can see an hour on your watch, but they have one issue. They do not see through the clouds, and they are completely blind during the night. So, for instance, especially in the, I would say, northern European hemisphere, you know, like if it comes to, let's say, November or February, you know, like you typically don't really see much because it's either snowing or raining or it's a night or both. So SAR, it's a radar, so it sees 24/7. And of course it is pixel, so it's not so beautiful. But then you can track any disasters, you know, like you see through the clouds, you see floods, you see wildfires. You also see, you know, anything that can happen on your border during the night that you really want to know what's happening there. So this is, you know, like a completely new way of Earth observing.
Okay, sounds a bit like James Bond. Now, Bernardo, for the aspiring entrepreneurs here, and maybe there's some entrepreneurs here that want to start a space company, has the ship sailed? Because we hear there's already thousands of satellites, or there's still market opportunities for startups, and maybe you have a secret tip for us and where they should look at.
Of course not. There are plenty of opportunities out there. The space program is continuously evolving, developing new features. There are new programs being deployed. For example, if we talk about Galileo, Galileo is a satellite navigation like GPS or GLONASS, but it is about to launch 2 unique features that no one else will have. That is the authentication service, that is anti-spoofing service that will enable a new series of applications. And we have also the upcoming high accuracy service that will enable precision of around 20 centimeters. It's something that is very, very, very new. No other system reach this precision. And this will also enable a new set of applications, like, for example, autonomous driving, navigating drones in urban environments, or precision farming. Like we have an example here in the pitching, some companies developing a precision farming solution there, where the high precision is very, very, very relevant. If we talk about Copernicus, Copernicus was originally developed for governmental agencies, and only in the recent times it was made available to industry and citizen. And the industries are starting to capitalize the potential of these technologies just now. We have developed a report that is called the EUSPA market report. It's freely available to everyone, where we analyze the market of these 17 market segments that I mentioned before. And there we forecast the evolution of the different applications, and we have a large number of applications that are expected to grow significantly in the next 10 years. So I will recommend the entrepreneurs to have a look at this report, and they will find good inspiration for opportunities.
Okay, so that's on the EUSPA website, right?
Yes,
yeah.
it's there. You can download. It's a PDF free of charge.
Okay. Now I know that that my phone actually, I checked, my phone actually receives Galileo satellites. What do I have to do to get these new services that you talk about?
We are in contact with manufacturers. If we talk about the features of the Galileo system, there are special receivers that are being manufactured right now. They are closing the testing phase, and they will be soon available in the market for using. Yes.
Okay, great. So I have to wait a little bit more, and then I guess that will be on my phone as well. Now, Christina, if I want to talk a little bit with you about the journey, we hear it's not that hard, but it seems also not easy to do a space business. So I just wanted to kind of see what kind of challenges did you face? Were they more technical challenges? Were they more business challenges? What were the hurdles that you have to get to where you're now?
Yeah, so I think we face the general hurdles every startup faces. I think it's pretty similar, the beginning steps. But as Adam said, when we started off the company 2018, we were on the really frontier of the market. So it was unclear what is happening with space. Is it just some billionaires having dreams and just making up stories, and everyone was slightly hesitant. When we started off with our idea, it was not clear how many satellites will be really launched, how is the market to evolve. And yeah, and when we talked to investors for the very first time, like, oh, is space really in market? There were really few investors, really few startups said, oh, are you the only ones thinking space debris and junk is a problem? Why is nothing happening there? So I think that was the biggest challenge for us. But the cool thing is, space is a passion for many people. Space is really cool. It's really the future where we think humanity will be in space in some decades, and we're this helps us also to attract talent, which is really tech savvy. And this also, I think, one of the biggest challenges for most of the startups, getting the right people in who make this super crazy tech working, to find out what's the right product, what's the right timing, and how can we build a sustainable business in the end. So yeah, I think being a pioneer in a market which is not super ready, and being a first comer was the hardest hurdle for us.
I imagine. Now, those that are inspired to see how to concretely get into the space industry, there's actually a workshop tomorrow on space where basically my colleague will tell you how to build an API that accesses space data. So any developer can basically join that, and that's taking place tomorrow. And it's based on the Copernicus data, which is the Earth observation data, and those that took the plane might have noticed that the airport here is called Copernicus, so it's that Copernicus that the program was named after. Now, Adam, investing in space hardware seems quite difficult. As a business angel, you know, I have a bit more time. I'm not on the same clock as a VC, I imagine. So I want to kind of understand how do you make VC and the possibly longer times that you need for deep tech, how do you make those two work together?
Well, you know, like VC investing, you know, like of course in space tech probably even more than other, and that's true, but overall it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So obviously, you know, like the younger the company is, the earlier in the lifetime of the fund you want to invest, because, you know, like most of the funds are 10 years, more or less. Sometimes you can extend it by a year or two, but that's, I would say, the typical structure. So yes, our expectation is that the company can become like a strong, I would say, a sustainable business within this time frame of, let's say, 8+ years, yeah. And even in space tech, it typically works. So this is, I would say, the time horizon, 8 to 10 years that we are looking at, and even in space tech. And of course, you know, like if you are doing early seed, that might not be enough. We are more of a Series A focused. So typically there is already a bit of, I would say, traction there. There is already, you know, like more happening. So yes, for an angel investor, that's probably like a more like 12 to 15 years journey. For us, being, you know, more like Series A focused, this 8 to 10 years, it's seems to be okay-ish. But yes, definitely, if there is industry which takes on average longer than others, that definitely is gonna be space tech.
Okay, understood. Maybe a different angle of advice for those here before they go on their entrepreneurial journey. Why did you sometimes not invest in a company? Kind of a bit of reverse advice. Why did you decide not to invest in a space company?
As mentioned, we are trying to avoid hypes. So if we see that there are a lot of companies chasing the same topic, and for instance, we are getting, you know, like a 5th or 6th kind of similar deck, and we really don't see a strong competitive advantage, then we are not typically going too much into this segment. And interestingly, I can probably say about one segment that we purposely decided to stay away from. And it's quite controversial because theoretically it's the sexiest part of space tech because it's rocket launchers. And everyone want to invest in rocket launchers. It's like everyone want to have an airline or a TV station or something like this. That's you are an investor, you want to be investor in rocket launchers. But we took I would say, quite a bit of analysis and time, and we spent a lot of time trying to understand, like where do we see like a real commercial opportunity in investing in yet another rocket launcher. And we decided to stay away from that.
I think I understand why. For those that don't know, I think there's 100 different launch companies that are active today. We have a lot of satellites, but maybe we don't need 100 launchers. Now, maybe in the last minutes of our panel, I want to kind of look into the future, do a bit of crystal ball gazing. And I'd like to ask each of you, where do you see the space sector going in the coming 10 years? What's in store for us the next decade? Bernardo, do you want to start?
I see that in the next year, the space technology will be more and more available to the citizens in general. So not only startups or specialized SMEs that can leverage these technologies, but also the citizens, the persons will be able to exploit as well the potential that these technologies can offer.
Okay, great space for all of us. Christina?
I believe that the space technology will get even closer with more traditional industries or non-space industries, and that also non-space industries will understand more that the benefits of space and space infrastructure for new technologies. We see a commercial trend, so not only states launching anymore, not only states operating, so commercially or more open market, let's say. And I think it will be state of the art that we travel extraterrestrial and explore the universe around us. So I think there's a lot to come.
Okay, great. Adam?
First of all, I would subscribe to what was said because I do agree with those, I would say, visions. What I would add is that, like space tech is actually for the people here on Earth. So it's not some kind of a crazy idea of a few astronauts which just want to fly and see the world, from the outside, but it's actually for us, for the people here, and most importantly, and I have a huge respect to Elon and SpaceX, by no means, but I'm not too much excited about living on Mars. Happy to travel there for a day or two, but probably not much longer than that. But we do believe that actually using the space technology, well, we know this, you can protect our planet Earth. And thanks to all the systems, Earth observation, analytics, and everything that we are building right now, we can make planet Earth much more sustainable, much safer, to understand, well, we need to understand what's happening on Earth in order to better make use of it and to better protect our planet. And that's what we can do from space. We cannot do it from within, from here. We can only understand it from up there. And I think this is one of the biggest things that space tech is bringing.
I think that's a beautiful message. We had space for all citizens, for everyone. We had space for non-space industry better, so for the whole economy, and basically space for planet Earth. So thank you very much for joining me in the panel. We've unfortunately run out of time already. I wish we could continue the discussion. Maybe tonight you can discuss over beer as well, whether or not you want to live on Mars. But we have to end here. I hope you will join us tomorrow to play with some actual space data. And I hope to see you then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm already working to you, but you know, those stairs doesn't make it easy. Thank you so much for joining. Adam, I'm so happy you made it. I was worried, but it's very nice to see you here. All right, I have a very general question for the public. Has anyone ever seen Katarzyna Kopytko, who is supposed to be the speaker on the next? Oh, hello, hi, perfect. Okay, don't go here up yet. We're just gonna rearrange the stage. We were looking for you. Just give us 2 minutes, and we will take care of the stage, and I'll introduce you. Right.